All right, welcome to Groundwork, where we interview the leaders building the most interesting ecosystem teams and companies in the world. And today I'm really excited to have Clinton with me, and we're going to dig into a bunch of interesting parts of his journey, both as a partnership leader, also as an entrepreneur, also as a writer and an advisor of companies trying to build their brands and influence and everything else as well. So I'm very excited to jump into this. But Clinton, just want to start first. Could you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got to where you are today?
Thanks a lot, Ty. Yeah, so my journey is a journey. That's for sure. Let's just say that much. I've done a lot of different things, but let's just kind of start at the top. I started my first company when I was 17. The program was called Junior Achievement. Some people might be familiar with that are listening to the show. Basically, Junior Achievement's a nonprofit that teaches high school aged and also even younger now students financial literacy skills, leadership skills, and then there's also a company program where basically it's after school program for once a week where you get together with a group of people that you form a company with, and it's about 2-3 hours long once a week for, I don't even remember how long it is, like 10-12 weeks, whatever it was. And yeah, you basically build a product, you sell it. You have people that are the president of the company, director of IT, marketing, everything. You sell shares, you go and sell, some people make money in their businesses, some lose money. And yeah, you just really kind of get an easier way of building a company. And that was my first kind of foray into business entrepreneurship. And then kind of after that, I actually played junior hockey across Canada for 3 years. So I'm actually a hockey player. I'm Canadian as well. So go figure. But I played junior hockey across Canada for 3 years. And then I actually also got a hockey scholarship in college, got my bachelor's business degree in management. So I played college hockey for another 4 years. And then after that, I got really just tightly involved with the tech community in Canada and started doing a lot of different roles. I've held roles, everything from sales and marketing and partnerships, various different roles from, account executive starting off for SaaS companies to director of partnerships for software companies to also, being involved as well as a VP of partnerships in the past as well for a shipping and logistics company. And then, it was in 2016 so I don't even know what is it. It's 2024 now. So what do we got? That's 8 years ago, which is crazy to think. But that's when we started my media company called Influensive. So my partner is based down in the States and I've been up in Canada, and we started Influensive and built that into, pretty decent sized online media brand. And from that, it kind of parlayed into some of the work that I mostly focus on nowadays, and where I started my own consulting company. So I'm the managing director of Senkow Ventures, and basically with Senkow Ventures, I love, working, mentoring, advising small teams, small, medium-sized businesses, and really helping them grow. So, helping implement partnership strategies, marketing strategies into their business. And yeah, it's taken me kind of all around the world and seen some cool things and worked with, various companies and various verticals too. So I haven't been just focused in SaaS or, just in e-commerce companies, for example. I've had my hand in a lot of different things, which has been nice and offers a little bit more variety for me. But yeah, I'm a huge proponent. Everything that I really focus on now is partnerships. Partnerships has been a huge proponent for me in my life and my career. And now I have a bunch of different, online programs where I help entrepreneurs and business owners to implement partnerships into their business. And then also working kind of as an outsourced, partnerships manager, partnerships director, whatever you want to call it, to really help businesses grow and kind of have me as an extension of their team. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a little bit of background. Like I said, it is a journey. There's a lot of things in there, but yeah, thanks for having me on the show, Ty.
Awesome. Yeah, no, great to have you here. I guess the most important question as a hockey player is how many teeth are you missing?
Knock on wood, I still play maybe once a week, just kind of rec hockey with some of my old college buddies and people that have played, a pretty good high level like myself. But I have all my teeth still, but I definitely have gotten my fair share of fights over the years being a hockey player. I wasn't very nice to play against on the ice. I'm definitely someone that works hard and plays the other team pretty hard. But when I'm off the ice, I'm a very very chill, very happy, very different person. So I kind of put on that alter ego when I'm on the ice, and then when I kind of get off the ice, I'm a dad, I'm a husband, all those different things now. So
That's great. Yeah, I feel like some of that like primal need for like exerting like aggressive energy or whatever, you can just get it out on the ice. Like if you were to tell me that you're getting in fights on a weekly basis, I wouldn't have guessed it. So we're going to talk about a lot of different stuff here because your experience, I think, is just like extremely valuable for the listeners. And so there's like quite a few different areas I've identified I want to jump into. One of the things I want to start with that I think is a real big challenge for partnership leaders today is like, and I imagine you have this conversation a lot, like articulating where like the role that partnerships play in the mix of like how a company operates,
right.
and you as someone who's working with entrepreneurs and founders who are like navigating that mix, and also someone who has been an entrepreneur and has done partnerships, has done a bunch of great marketing work, has been advising entrepreneurs for a long time at this point. Like, how do you articulate the role that partnerships plays in the mix? And is there a common theme around that, or does it vary by types of companies? Would love to hear about your thinking on that.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think honestly, I think it does depend on the company. I think it depends on the operator too. It depends on the founder, the entrepreneur, the CEO, the who they are, and kind of what they believe in. One thing that I think that probably some of the listeners as well that I see kind of on a daily basis, I find that if you're an online business, so you're a software company, you're selling some sort of SaaS, or you're primarily online, partnerships has there's always kind of been an opportunity there for you. I feel like if you were like a brick and mortar type of business, you're in the oil field, or you're in energy or something like that, sometimes a partnership title or even just the partnership angle of building partnerships almost kind of falls by the wayside. And I feel like there's still so much potential for implementing partnerships just kind of on a wider range of small, medium size, large enterprise type companies. You obviously see these partnership teams and partnership directors, VP of partnerships, very prevalent in online companies, in companies that have raised money, they're venture backed, and so on and so forth. And I'm someone that when I'm mentoring, coaching, advising an early stage entrepreneur, a business, or just kind of getting involved, or even just now, if I'm starting a business myself, I've come to realize that partnerships is one of the main keys that has got me to where I am today and experienced some of the levels of success. I don't really consider myself successful yet. I still have a lot to go, a lot of things to achieve, a lot of things to go, that I want to do in the world and that I want to build. But I definitely try to instill in founders at an early stage that you need to kind of carve in your mix, alongside marketing, alongside sales, that you need to have partnerships. Like, you need to be focusing on partnerships, because partnerships to me it's a longer term play, but it's one of those areas that can pay massive dividends for you and your business for years and years to come. And sometimes companies say, oh, I don't have time for partnerships, or it's a lot of fluff, because they're just focused on, getting to that next round of funding, or they're just looking to, just raise their revenue this quarter. But the reality is, with some of these partnerships that I've helped build, or I've helped advise, or that I've seen other companies implement, is not just raising revenue, for that company in that quarter. It's, it can 5 times, it can 10 times some of these companies, over a year, over 18 months, whatever it is. And just one massive partnership for your business, no matter what stage you're at, can be multiple 6, 7, 8, whatever, 9, 10 figures over the lifetime of your business, right? If you keep maintaining that relationship, that partnership, and keep turning it over and keep using that as a driver for your business. So hopefully that kind of gives yourself, but also, the listeners, just kind of a little bit of a scope of kind of like how my mind thinks and how I, kind of have worked with some of those early stage entrepreneurs. But I always try to instill partnerships into the mix, no matter what type of business you are or what industry you're in. Like, you need to be spending time on partnerships in my eyes.
Yeah, awesome. And I really like how you talked about like tech partnerships being like much more established. I agree with you, and I'm excited to talk about that more because like we're so forward looking, I think, from a partnerships perspective in the tech industry, that we're like, hey, we're only doing like 5% of what we should be doing. But if you look at other industries, you're like, hey, like my team at Deal was like 40 people. It's like, if you look at a traditional industry that's not tech, and it's unlikely you're going to find like a 40-person partnerships
No,
team.
you don't. You don't. You really don't. And that's the unfortunate kind of thing, because what I see a lot is I see business development gets thrown into, partnerships, and someone who's a VP of business development is that VP of partner. That's what a lot of those kind of like, whatever, brick and mortar or like not online focused businesses kind of deal with partnerships. It kind of deals with kind of that business development, which there is obviously a business development function. But I just feel like with tech prevalent companies, yeah, they're the ones that are carving out an actual partnerships team. They're the ones that are actually carving out those roles dedicated 100% solely to partnerships.
Yeah, and what's interesting is in those traditional industries, at least my anecdata is that that's where the biggest partnership opportunities are, right? Because if you're an online business, if people can purchase your thing through
Yeah,
your website, like you can buy ads and acquire those people. It might be more expensive than acquiring people through your partners, but like you can, if you have the money, you can spend the money and you can get the customers. Whereas like in traditional industries, it's like, I was the Apple, for instance, with the iPhone, it's like they sell 80% of their iPhones through T-Mobile and Verizon and everyone else. It's like, if they were just trying to sell their phones through their website, they're not selling any phones. It's like they need to sell them through the carriers, and so those partnerships are like absolutely critical to Apple and their.
100%.
And it's the any other industry you look at.
Yeah, and Apple's a great one, and another big company that obviously one of the biggest in the world, just like Apple, that relies solely hugely on partnerships to really distribute and sell all of everything that they basically do, which is a lot of different buckets. Is Microsoft. Their partnership program is massive. It's insane. They have hundreds of thousands of partners that are within their partner network, and they drive tens of billions of dollars in revenue, every year. So these big companies, I what I like to say even too, here's a, kind of for the listeners, is I'm someone that I feel like partnerships, all the big companies use partnerships, like they do, like it's all the biggest companies in the world use partnerships. As a small, medium sized, whatever, you're just doing a couple $1 million, or you're doing a couple, $700,000, whatever, 20 million, whatever it is. It's partnerships can be that superpower for you to really catapult you to get you to that next stage and to really allow you to grow. And I feel sometimes founders, entrepreneurs are almost scared, where they kind of feel like, I'm too small. I can't do partnerships. I'm too small. Nobody wants to partner with me. Well, no. You're thinking about it all wrong. It doesn't matter what stage you are. All businesses at all stage, in my eyes, have some way, shape, or form, or a type of partnership that they could be leveraging to grow themselves and some other brand that they partner with.
I love that. I love that. And so, like, yeah, it's interesting. It's like in the basically partnerships in tech is how you achieve economies of scale, right? It's
Yep.
like, and if I think yes, most big companies in tech are really are really partner centric. What I will tell you is all very profitable companies in tech are
Yeah.
partnership soup to nuts. Like
Totally.
they are top to bottom. I just listened to a great interview with Jensen Huang, the CEO of Nvidia, and they were asking him, "Hey, like, how do you build a long lasting edge? Obviously, you're ahead of the curve on building these AI chips, but how do you maintain your edge? Like, do you just outwork the competition, everything else? And he was like, no, what you do is you build an ecosystem, and like people might catch up to your technology, but they're not going to catch up to your ecosystem. And that's what these big companies have figured out. It's like, or profitable companies. Like if you think about Google, you think about Apple, you think about like Microsoft, one that we're talking about. It's like, hey, those are also the biggest ecosystem companies, and they print cash because they have economies of scale because of that. I love that insight. And so like I agree with you. There's like, hey, it's almost rather than two categories where it's like tech and non-tech, or like tech and traditional businesses, it's like profitable tech is like really partner centric because you have to be profitable. And then there's like spend a bunch of money on advertising and sales tech, which is not profitable. And, like over time, they're going to have to trim that spending. And in order to still grow, they're going to have to invest more in partnerships. And then you have like non-tech businesses, and there's a lot of them. And I think my experience has been, which might be wrong, is like a lot of those companies do everything via partners, and they just don't call them partners.
100%.
Oh, we have a distribution deal with this company, or like, oh, we have like these resellers, or like, oh, we've got, like they're going out and doing all of these deals, but they just don't see them as partners. I don't know what they call them, but they just call them other stuff. I mean, maybe they do have.
I love that you brought that up because you're completely right. Because another one as well is there's so many businesses, just traditional businesses, that have referrals, right? That have essentially they have a huge network of referral partners where they're just like, hey, where do you get most of your business from? Referrals. They're just referring us business. Okay, but are you incentivizing your referrals, right? Or do you have a program for your referrals? AKA an affiliate type of program where you're actually incentivizing them, you're actually helping them, you're actually making it easier for them to share about your products or services. And a lot of them are like, what's that, right? Like, what's an affiliate program? Like, why would I incentivize them? Like, they're just, they're my client already, they're paying me money, but then they're referring me, another 2 clients or 3, or I might send them a card once in a while, or, I send them chocolates during Christmas time or whatever, right? But like in the end, a lot of those traditional style businesses could be and should be, in my eyes, implementing, these affiliate type of programs, or something that's more standardized, right? That it's a program. There's a reason behind it. You have a goal in mind of what you're trying to hit, and it's not just you flying by the seat of your pants, hoping that that customer that you just brought in last month is also going to refer you another 2 or 3.
Yeah, I really like that as a concept. Like, because I wanted to come back to what you said around like, if I was to distill it down, like really like near-term priorities and long-term priorities for entrepreneurs, where they're like, hey, sounds great, but like I'm just trying to get revenue in this quarter, or like sounds great, but like, I'm focused on this immediate thing, and that's like a longer-term bet. And it sounds like, getting referrals from customers is something you can do in quarter, like it, because you already have built the relationships, they've already seen the value and everything else. And I quite like that idea of like, hey, the person who seeds that motion could probably be the same person that seeds the partnership motion, which is just like a longer term out. The premise is very similar. It's like, hey, we establish a relationship of mutual value, and we incentivize these people to recommend us to other companies because it's good for them and it's good for us, and like that. All you need is like, hey, you already have a sales team that's building the customer relationships, and you just need the incentivization for the customers afterwards. But like, then you need someone who's going to go and find the partner relationships. So, and the incentivization actually is like quite similar.
Right. I 100% agree. And that's where I think there's tremendous potential, honestly, when it comes to partnerships. And I think I'm excited to kind of see where tech partnership centric teams kind of take partnerships in 2024 here and beyond. But then I'm also really interested to see kind of how some of these traditional businesses as well start to maybe kind of realize like, hey, maybe I should have some sort of program, maybe I should standardize something a little bit more for, our partners in our network, or, how to as a traditional business, how can I start building more of an ecosystem, right? Like the Microsofts, like the Apples, like a lot of these kind of online centric type of businesses where they're almost building like a moat for themselves, right? Where they're building that, that ecosystem, that place that shows that they collaborate, that they want to work with others. They're not just focused on themselves. And they also know that to get to where they need to be or where they want to be is they need partners. They need to collaborate and they need other businesses, other brands, entrepreneurs, influencers, whatever it is, to really kind of get them, to those stages.
Yeah, I love it. And my experience has been that instinctively, most entrepreneurs will get that, like, hey, we need to, if we're in the CRM space, like, we need to integrate with Salesforce, like integrate, yeah, or like, hey, our customers asking for this integration, like we should build that. Like I think instinctively entrepreneurs catch that. I think the things that are less intuitive for them are, and like also instinctively, I think people get, hey, it would be really cool if Salesforce would also send us business back. Like I think get that straight away. They don't necessarily get how hard that is because Salesforce has like another 100,000 people thinking the same way, right? So you really have to stand in the crowd. But I think instinctively people get that. And then I think that where it gets like less clear is like, okay, well, also services company, like we would love for services companies to recommend us that exist in the space. Also, like maybe not Salesforce, but like smaller integrations that we could build that benefit our relationships or our customers rather than building those things ourselves. But I think the biggest thing that's hard for founders to think about, like instinctively, not all but most, is like, well, how do we create value? We're focused on creating value for our customers, but like, how do we create value for our partners? And for because obviously you've spent some time mentoring startups, 500 startups before you went out and did this advisory work yourself. Like, how should someone be thinking about that framing to their CEO or their founder? It's like, hey, we need to give some value back to these partners in order for us to get referrals this quarter or this year, or in order to generate more revenue this year.
Yeah, I think there's a couple avenues that I think are important to kind of address. Is like one of them in my eyes is in order to kind of get these referrals or to get these businesses to kind of start referring you business or referring you, say you're online centric too, and referring maybe just users, maybe it's not new customers, but maybe it's users to your platform or your app or whatever. Is one of the main points is I think you have to kind of simplify it almost for them and make it easy. Everyone's busy. Everyone has their own agenda. Everyone else has their own goals, their own visions, everything as a business, as a team, as, different sectors, departments within the business as well. And I've seen a mistake that a few, entrepreneurs and business owners kind of make where they are online based. They build their affiliate program and they have 150 affiliates in this affiliate program. And I go and, kind of do a little diagnostics of them and like, hey, I'm going to sign up as an affiliate. I'm going to see, what they have in their program. I sign up and all they have is, okay, I signed up as an affiliate and I just have a tracking link. That's all it is. That's all they've given me is a tracking link. So here you have 150 affiliates, okay? And you're saying, hey, I want to get some, business from them. But you haven't created anything for them. You haven't given them anything. And one of the easiest things that you could do is work with your marketing department and get some materials created, right? So, whether it's the type of copy, whether it's, here's a, copy and paste type of, post that you can put on Facebook to your community. Here's a bunch of graphics. Here's all of our logos. Here's all of our interviews. Here's some videos. You need to kind of create a big depository, right? A big resource for your partners to make it easy for them and their teams to share about your product, about your service, about your software, whatever it is. And so I've seen that mistake with founders is I've created this affiliate program. It's not getting any results, whatever. And then I go in and see that they legit have nothing for their partners and they just give them the link. Well, it's like, well, you're just hoping, wishing that person, that company, that affiliate, that partner markets or sends the message that you want them to be saying to their community to get you sales. when you need to give them that, you need to provide that. So that's like number one stage that I would say that's super, super important is so make it easy for your partners, right? Give them materials, ask even what they need, right? You may think I'm going to create all this stuff, but they know their customers, they know their users, they know their ecosystem, their community better than you do, right? So asking them, what do you need me to create for you? What would help make this easier for your community to digest, to understand, to, be acquainted with our products or services? Is it, doing an interview with, our CEO within your community? Is it, some sort of video? Is it just graphics, texts? Is it a whole bunch? Is it a white paper? Is it, some sort of lead magnet that would be really great that they all can have? Is it sending out through email, right? There's so many different distribution channels now. So that's one. And then two is, I would say you need to make sure that they're actually incentivized as partners and they're actually on par with they actually want to share, or they actually want to bring you new sales. Like, you're actually making it worthwhile for them. So number one, you're making it easy, but then number two, they're getting something from it. They're receiving something. And how, when I'm, coaching, consulting, helping business owners, entrepreneurs, develop partner programs, but also just to start using partnerships in their business, the number one most important thing to me when it comes to partnerships is you have to create a win-win partnership. It has to be a win-win. Both sides have to see value. You have to understand what is valuable to them, and they need to understand what's valuable to you. And in order for this to be a successful partnership, you both need to be getting value from each other and both understand what that is. And that's what I've found to be the most successful partnerships in my career, is the ones where both partners just understand each other. They communicate well, but then they also know that, hey, it's more important for these guys to get paid because they just want more money to sell our services or our products. Or maybe, hey, this one, these types of partners would rather us make it as easy for them as possible to share our stuff with their community and market and co-market with them, because they're so busy. They have no bandwidth whatsoever that they need someone to provide as much stuff as possible. So every partner is a little bit different, right? But that's where you have to have that communication. You have to understand each other. And for all listeners, listening to this, in order for you to have a successful program or to even just have a successful partnership, just remember, it has to be a win-win. Both sides need to have value that they are receiving, and they both understand what that is. And when you do, I think you're going to be that much farther along with, creating a successful partnership, but then also a successful partner program.
I love that. And then one of the things you touched upon was like making it really simple for partners, to understand and digest, which really resonates with me, because it's like, hey, it's hard enough being an employee of your company, and you go through like onboarding, and you have like, you spend a bunch of time with your colleagues, and it takes you like 6 to 12 months to figure out what the company does, and then finally you're like an expert. And it's like, imagine what that's like for a partner who doesn't go through any of that stuff. It's like extremely complex. And so I love that concept. The other thing, I think, like, it's also really important to make things simple for your team, like not your partnerships team, but like your company that you work at. I wanted to talk to you about a few different parts of this. Like, there's the partner relationship, and then there's the company relationship. Like, and if you're a VP of partnerships, like, you're expected to like represent the partnerships organization at the executive level. So you need to be able to like speak to the executive team and the rest of the company, and for people to like understand what you do, and it needs to be distilled down into something simple. But I think like being able to distill it down in a simple manner in the same way you need to do for partners is really important. But like, first, people just need to trust you. And you've done a really good job of, well, you've got a great background in writing and brand development and building a profile and helping other people build profiles. And so I'm interested to hear, like, what are your tips or observations on like how like a head of VP of partnerships, or anyone in the partnership space, who's basically like trying to establish a profile for themselves so that people trust what they're saying, so that they can get the stuff done that they need to get done, but they need to establish trust and credibility. And so, like, given you're kind of an expert on this subject, I'm really excited to kind of hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, no, honestly, I love this question, and it's definitely something that I love to talk about. I think, the biggest, to kind of put a circle around it is like how to become a thought leader, right? Is, as a professional, it doesn't matter what field we're in, but for this, for this sake, it's like, for this show, it's, how do you become a thought leader within that partnership space, right? How do you become someone that, others trust? They want to follow you, but they also understand you. And something that I did early on in my career, and this was actually when I was in college, and probably one of the top classes that I took, and I love saying this, is social media marketing. So I took social media marketing, and it was like my second semester of my second year, so halfway through my degree, and I learned early on how to use Twitter, how to use, some of these online channels. And I started to, just kind of play around with them and create your profiles, whatever, get your usernames. And, at that time still, and you still see it today, a lot of people use their social handles or online presence for, sharing photos of their family, or, sharing cat memes, to, sharing that YouTube video, to whatever, right? Like, people choose that, and that's totally fine. And I have nothing against people that do that. I made a conscious decision after that class that I said, moving forward, I'm going to use social media and my online presence as a tool to build myself and my career, because I see the power of this. Where it's online is not going away. It's important, because what happens whenever any of us have a question? We go to Google and we type it in, right? And the thing that I like to tell people when I'm trying to help them, build up your profile, become a thought leader, become more prominent in industry, is when I Google your name, what comes up? If I was to Google your name right now, what comes up? Is there content on there? Is there interviews? Is there profiles that are complete? Is everything consistent across all your channels? What comes up that makes me believe like, oh, wow, this person or this business or whatever it is someone that, looks reputable? Or, hey, there's other people that are going to bat for this person, right? Or, wow, this person has a massive profile on this, whatever, on TikTok or whatever it is. And I think having a presence, I'm not saying that you have to be some big, massive influencer. You have to be on all these channels all the time, because I know that's not part of your role. But I do think it's important to create your personal brand. And as a partnerships leader, as a VP, as a director, as a whatever, as we're starting to see, the chief partnerships officer is, you need to be someone that has an online profile. You should be sharing content, right? It should be consistent across all platforms. Like, there's no excuses. It's 2024, and you need to put emphasis in that, because when you reach out as a partnerships team, as a director, whatever it is, whatever and you reach out to a client, a customer, a potential partner, they're searching you. They're going to do their due diligence on you, right? They're going to try and find out what they know about you and your business. And you need to have that consistent. And I found that I've had success, building my brand, building my profiles, for myself, where I do have, a lot of reputable information, and I do have a lot of interviews, and I have a lot of content that I've created, whether it's articles I've written, whether it's thought leadership type of content that I've put out about partnerships, whether it's other trainings I've done. You need to kind of have a good spectrum of it. And I think if people are, listening to this and they're like, how do I start? Right? What do I do to kind of get this started? I know I should be doing this. It's, just open up a blank Google Doc, whatever it is that you use, and start writing down things that, that you could share content about. Is it how to build a partner program, or how, is it walking through maybe how you just had it, you just created a successful partnership, right? There was maybe you had this relationship over the last 2 months. How could you talk about that and create that into, a blog post, into a video, into whatever? You don't have to say client names or business names, but you could say, hey, I worked with this small, medium-sized business. We didn't know each other. We, got on a demo call. I walked them through the deck, whatever. But like, how could you just start creating valuable content online and start using whatever medium is valuable to you, right? So whether it's videos, whether it's podcasts, whether it's audio, just audio if you don't like going on video, right? Whether it's a blog post, there's so many different avenues for you, but definitely spending time, money, and energy into your online brand is so crucial as a partnerships executive, as a partnerships person, because people are Googling you and you're Googling other people. So it's not going to look good on you or your business if you don't have up-to-date profiles or you aren't, sharing content. It's only going to help you. It's going to, further reinforce that partner has chosen to do business with you and they trust you. And it's definitely, something that I don't see changing, probably not in my lifetime.
Yeah.
So
No, yeah, I agree with you. It's only becoming more and more critical. I really like that distinction that you made around like, hey, you could go and share cat memes, and I've got a good friend of mine. I won't mention his name, but like, he's the CEO of an awesome company, and like, when he tries to do thought leadership about the stuff that he's an expert in, it doesn't get picked up that much, and then he'll post kind of like funny memes or whatever, and it'll be like so successful, and he's like, damn it, like I'm trying to become a thought leader on this thing, but everyone just likes my memes. I think that's really funny. But like on the like thought leadership on the work subject, which I think is like potentially harder, right? Like I feel like people if we think about like two giant buckets, right? Like there is the bucket of people who know stuff, and this is the bigger bucket. This is like almost everyone. It's like people who know stuff
but
and
don't share.
but don't share it because they're like, either they don't think that they're confident, they're not confident enough that they're an expert, that they should share their opinion, right?
Right.
Like, and I think that that's the majority of folks. Hey, like they have really valuable expertise and experience, even if it's not complete. But it's like, hey, you have an insight that even if you provoke a discussion, even if you're wrong and you provoke a discussion, like for all the people that read that discussion, it's going to be extremely valuable. So that's like one bucket. And then I'll talk about the second bucket afterwards. But for that first bucket, like, what's your recommendation for those people who just need like maybe a kick in the back to kind of be a little bit more confident and get out of the comfort zone?
So there's two options, I would say. So number one is finding that medium and then when I say medium, it's writing, putting out a podcast, audio recording, a video, whatever it is. It could be even a tweet, right? Like there's so many different mediums that we have nowadays that there's no reason there should be one for everybody that you feel comfortable on using or that you like using, right? Because I'm also a huge proponent of, I don't think you should be doing videos if you do not like doing videos, right? Oh, you like watching videos on YouTube and you're like, oh, I should create some YouTube channel, but you're like, I don't enjoy using YouTube. I just like watching YouTube. Well, then you shouldn't be doing YouTube videos, right? So I would say you need to find a medium that you enjoy using, that isn't hard, that you could throw into your daily, weekly, kind of schedule, an hour, an hour every Monday, 2 hours every week, where, hey, I'm going to create content, for this medium and, put it out there. You could start an email list. There's so many different things, that you can do. So I feel that has to be, kind of number one. So then the other option is, yet again, we're still in the same bucket of someone has a lot of knowledge, a lot of know-how, but I don't want to share it, or I'm scared, or I'm shy, right? And that's fine. Another avenue is finding a service provider, finding an agency, a ghostwriter, somebody else that will create that content for you on your behalf, right? Where you might not have the time as an executive, or you might not have the will, or that's not you. But there are services, there are ghostwriters out there, freelancers, agencies, whatever it is, where they will actually help craft that content for you and be that voice, right? Where they'll have a quick little interview with you for an hour a week or whatever, and they take all that content and then they'll create that into, multiple different mediums, or whatever medium that you choose that you could then use. So then it's like you not spending time on creating that content if you don't enjoy doing that. Obviously, you have to have money to do the second option, right? but it is definitely an option that I do see a lot more prevalent and can be, definitely valuable to you and your brand and your business.
I love it. I love it. And then so I want to talk more about this. I also want to ask you about the other bucket. But like, so going back to like you called out, like you want to be a thought leader. Also, you probably need to identify like what are the like, hey, I can talk about partner programs, tech partnerships. Like, how do people identify like the two or three things that rather than like scattergun, like the two or three things that they can talk to with confidence once they've figured out the channel that they want to get that opinion out in?
So what I would do is I would do a little bit of research, honestly. Like I would honestly do a little bit of research, like in terms, and what I mean by that is like, I don't think you should just create content just for the sake of content because you're like, hey, I'm going to write about partner programs in a completely different way that no one's ever, talked about partner programs before, but nobody's ever going to read it or no one's ever going to watch it, right? Is to support that, you could start looking into and just doing a little bit of research in terms of like what questions are people, asking around partnerships. Or another thing, as a partnerships manager, a partnerships director, or even just a partnerships, person in that partnerships team, is what are the questions that customers are having? What questions do people come to you about around that function of your business? And that should give you ideas as to, hey, maybe I should create some content around this, or maybe I should create some content around that to help address some of those, questions that people or partners have. But that's just kind of, one of those things that I would say that I think definitely helps. But I know obviously every person's different, every team's different, every industry is a little bit different. So you just got to kind of find what works for you and your team.
Yeah, amazing. I love it. And then so the much smaller bucket, this is a very small group of people, but there is a very small group of people who are like very confident sharing opinions, and like maybe they're wrong, or like it's not based in expertise. It's just based on like having a high level of confidence. This is a very small bucket, right? I think most people are in the first bucket and they're nervous about being perceived as being in the second bucket, right? And so also for people who are in the first bucket and they're listening to thought leaders, because they're like, oh, I don't have all of the answers. So I'm like listening to people that do have answers and experience and stuff. Like, what are your recommendations for discerning? Like, hey, this is like something that I should listen to and test out, or like this is or like this seems like it's not based in experience or fact or whatever else, or like should everyone just be taking things with a grain of salt that they read online?
Hands down, I think every person is going to gravitate towards, certain podcast shows or certain influencers or certain thought leaders in different spaces and different people. And we all have our own reasons, right? Where, for example, you might gravitate towards someone's content that, is also a parent. You're a parent yourself, you're a partnerships professional. So you're going to gravitate towards someone else that maybe is more of a parent as well. So they're going through some of those struggles or some of those, personal side of stuff that you're also dealing with as a partnerships professional. So you might be just gravitating more towards them. You might be gravitating more towards someone else that, is a little bit more, funnier, that puts a humor, aspect on stuff because that hits you better, right? Or that's who you like to follow. That's how you like to, digest content. So I think hands down, everybody online, whether you're creating content or whether you're just consuming the content, is you always have to take something with a grain of salt. And what I do is like, I'm someone that consumes a lot of content from a lot of different mediums, always reading articles. I do listen to the odd podcast, but I'm not going to lie, like I haven't got super down the rabbit hole of podcasts. Like I love podcasts. I love doing podcasts. I've thought about having my own at one point as well. But I definitely also do find that I do like listening to music sometimes more than, listening to podcasts and when I'm doing work or whatever it is. But I definitely do feel that there's potential to just kind of gravitate towards who we naturally kind of gravitate towards, kind of someone that you can relate to and associate yourself with. And so I think everything should be taken with a grain of salt. and just kind of pick pieces and pointers and topics from different people and kind of from everywhere. And that's how I kind of use the content that I consume is I don't just like fall down one rabbit hole and just be like, hey, I'm gonna, believe everything that Simon Sinek says because he's, this big thought leadership guy, that has all this inspirational content, is awesome, at motivating teams and whatever. It's like, no, I'll watch some of his stuff, read some of his books, take little bits and parts of it. But then I'm also over here, listening or reading something from someone totally different, no, but nothing like him, that, gives me a different perspective. So I think it's all about, taking little bits and parts from different people and from different, mediums, and then taking that and using it yourself, to how you can better yourself or better your business, or better your partner program as well.
Love it. Yeah. If I was to summarize what I take away from that personally, number one is, hey, if I'm wanting to be a thought leader, then I should think about ways that I can relate to the audience that I'm trying to really reach, or be relatable to the audience that I'm trying to reach. And then also, if I am an audience, if I'm a consumer, I should be keeping in check, hey, am I taking this stuff on face value because I relate to this person? Like basically like, hey, am I being susceptible to my inherent biases and like trusting this person because they have things in common with me, rather than am I assessing like the quality or the character of the statement itself? I think that those are like both really valuable tips for people as they think about this stuff. Well, Clint, unfortunately, we are at time today. I promised you that the time would go really fast, and it really
Oh, it
did.
goes
Yeah,
fast.
I promise. I really appreciate the time today. I know that this is like, especially talking about the development of personal brand, it's like a real opportunity for people in our industry. And so I know
Yeah.
that we're going to find this extremely valuable. So thank you so much for sharing your insights and time. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. I appreciate you having me on the show, and thanks for the opportunity. And yeah, I'm just excited to share. Hopefully the listeners can get something from this episode and implement it into their brands, or implement it into their businesses, and go out there and do amazing things. So thanks again for having me on.
Amazing. Thank you.